to Cosmic Pathways Teach Yourself a Tarot. Now, we've listened to your lovely comments that we had from the first series, which was about the major arcana. And we're so thrilled to be able to offer 4 sessions on the minor arcana. So, yes, I'm going to pass you over to Gail, and she'll explain what we're going to be doing.
Absolutely. And yes, welcome from my point of view. And it was lovely to have that response and that people have actually asked for us back. It's a mad world, isn't it, Sue? But it is a mad world. But this is absolutely my comfort zone. And I've been thinking about what we're going to be doing over the next 4 weeks quite a lot this morning and reflecting. And as far as the minor arcana, I think they're quite overlooked sometimes. We tend to focus, we've just done our series, haven't we, on the major arcana, which are the big messages. And the minor arcana are there to help with everyday life, everyday actions, and so on. Yeah. And I think with the minor arcana, my first introduction with any of it was to do with the elements and how the elements are so integral in astrology, in our everyday lives, in our temperament, and no less so than in the minor arcana cards. And I think what often people tend to do when they pick a tarot deck is they get a book and they try and look up all the meanings, and they're thinking there's 72 cards here, I'm never going to learn all this in a million years. 72, 78. Yeah, there's a lot of cards there.
Yes.
And I think I was thinking about, I mean, a lot of people talk about their origin story, and I was thinking back to how all this began for me. And I was very fortunate that growing up, I had this amazing uncle who was very in this world. And from 9 years of age, I had my tarot read. And he had this gift of being able to read somebody the minute they walked into the room, just by looking at them. And he did it based on their elemental makeup. So there was 4 elements: air, earth, water, fire. And dependent on which you present to the world, your leading element, if you like, it was something that I learnt very early on, so much so that for me, now I use it in everyday life. I'll go to the supermarket, and if I want to get through the checkout quickly, I know not to go to a water first person, because visually we show our elements as well in that first place. Unless I'm quite happy to have a chat and just to mosey on through, because water people first are not quick. That's not their modus operandus, or whatever you say. And if I want to really get through, I'll go to a fire first. If I want to get quick, fire, choleric, these are the action, the energy people. The air people are those that are intellectual and chatty and talkative, and everything's going on in their heads. Again, quite quick, but you will probably get talked to death. No surprise, I'm air first. So I know it well. And then earth people, who tend to be a little bit more stable, a bit more grounded, caring people. They tend to enter a lot in the caring professions, but with all the elements, as much as there's positives as negative. So moving on to the 4 suits, that's just my sort of understanding and how I understood how important the elements were. If you can, for me, there's only 4 things you need to learn when learning tarot and the minor arcana. One is if you can get to grips with the elements, which are the 4 suits, which we're going to do a deep dive in a minute. Fantastic. Second is the numbers, numerology. Third is, yes, you can do a visual pictorial reading from just seeing what the visuals interpret. But I just think that's such a small part of the whole makeup. And then the 4th thing is your intuition.
Yeah.
Relying on that ability to think, let's look what's going on here. There's an abundance of wands, there's abundance of fire. This reading is telling me or the other person they've got to action something. They've got to draw on fire. They've got to create and and use that passion and energy to get through whatever it is in their life at that particular moment. So,
Mm.
yes, so that's where I am with the elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when you look at a spread, and as you say, if there is an abundance of, let's say, wands or cups or swords or pentacles, that's a real key to what's going on in the person's life, whether they need patience, whether they need, the ideas are coming to them, whether they need fast action, or, they just, that there is, it's more about just hanging out a bit. I mean, a lot of the water, the cups can indicate, it certainly carry love. They're very indicator. They indicate this emotional part of us, but also this sort of just slow down a bit.
Yes.
Yeah,
But also on the converse of that, or is the fact that you need to be careful, because if you have a preponderance of too much of any of the elements in a reading, it too much of anything, and the cards and tarot and life and the elements are all about balance.
absolutely.
And if we don't get that balance, so if you, I mean, when I do a reading, if I often do the Celtic cross, which is a preferred one. And you're looking at the cards, there's 10 cards, and if over 50% are of one suit, then I know that there's a real message coming through. And it's, yes, the major arcanas show up and they give you a big guided message, but
Yeah.
the minor are there to say every day what's going on, what needs addressing. And you
Mm.
know I look at the cards and they are just it's amazing. This one pack of cards you could put in your pocket and it gives you access
Yeah. I,
to
I
so
think,
much guidance and so
yeah.
much.
I think what they do for me is they open a kind of portal of intuition. And, as you say, you can look at the cards and read them out of the book, but that's so one-dimensional.
Mm,
And for me, they open up the sort of this other connection with this person's being, the psyche, this, and something more comes in, and suddenly, I don't know about you, but I'm clairvoyant, so I get visions. I get very distinct visions of, they could be symbolic visions or real visions. And so it's about, I think the cards for me is about learning to trust that side of you that may have never really had that chance of being explored, and don't be frightened of it. I think that's where the tarot comes in. It's something that is it's a portal. It's an opening for you to converse with somebody else using the symbology in a very intimate, deep way.
yeah. And I think sometimes when you sat in your own thoughts and head for so much of the time, it offers you a guidance, it offers you an ability to step outside yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I journal with the tarot. This is my
Mm.
beautiful journal here, and so this is what I do. So
Yes.
there's every, and this is a weekly thing. I do a 3 card reading weekly, um, and I'll ask the tarot, what do I need to know this week? What is my overriding message this week? And I'll pull 3 cards, and I use the whole pack. I don't just pick out. I
Yeah.
just do it because I know that there might be a big message turn up. There might be some everyday energetic messages coming into me. And yeah, so going back to the minor cards, I think it gives the whole picture, and that's why I think sometimes they get a bit of a poor rap to the minor cards.
Yeah.
People are wanting the big messages, aren't they? When you have a reading, I feel the majors turn up and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got a big message, but without the balance and the integration.
I think it's really important to realize that life is an awful lot of going shopping at the supermarket. It isn't massively exciting. If you know what I mean. I mean, like, oh, okay, it's my everyday thing. And often, and I'm sure you've had this experience too, and I certainly get this with astrology when clients come. life, you know, isn't necessarily madly exciting, but suddenly something's shifting and something's coming. It
Mm.
is this sense, I need a reading now. I don't know why, but I
Yeah.
feel like there's a big shift coming. And that's what the tarot and certainly astrology can do is, oh, okay, so this is what may be the potential of what may be happening for you, and they come at exactly the right time for them. And I've also done readings for people where actually not a lot is happening.
Mm. And that's okay too.
And that's okay too.
I remember,
Absolutely.
I remember going to um, where's that place by you that everybody goes to with all the crystals and people, and I can't, the place has gone right out of my head, you know, that by where you live, that everybody goes to, the, all the spiritual people and all the tarot readers are there and everybody loves it.
Are you talking about Glastonbury?
Yes, couldn't think of the name of the place. I kept saying something else. So I went to Glastonbury with our dear friend, and she was after a reading, and she sought out a tarot reader at Glastonbury, and the tarot reader turned around and looked at her and just went, "You don't need a reading. Everything in your life is great." And she came away chuckling, and she went, "That's the best thing anyone's ever said to me," because in my heart of hearts, I knew that.
Yeah,
He just looked at me and said, "You don't need a reading."
yeah,
And I think that's something to be celebrated as well. We don't
yes,
always need to have the answers or to think something's bigger that's going on either, or sometimes things are okay uh,
yeah,
in life.
absolutely.
And I just think when things are okay, dependent on the abundance of whether you elementally you've got fire, water, air, first, or however your makeup is, you know, if you're somebody with a lot of earth, a melancholic personality can tend to come from that. So you might look for that in your everyday life because that's something that's become learned behavior, possibly.
Yes,
Also, air people think a lot, overthink. You know, abundance of air can make you overthink.
yes,
Uh, you know, and when it comes to water, you've got to be careful that you don't suffer from overwhelm, emotional overwhelm, because
yeah,
that's what waters bring that sensitivity, that nurturing, that intuition. And that's with that sensitivity, with that amount of water can become overwhelmed. So if you get a lot of cups, like we were talking about earlier in a reading, it can actually mean that you are um, that sometimes it's good to get that balance, that maybe you are being oversensitive, or you I mean, obviously it depends on the spread, and there's a lot of context we're not looking at here.
mm,
We're
mm,
looking at each
mm.
individual element in relation to wands for fire, swords for air, cups or water, and pentacles for representing earth, and stability and all that material world and everything and so forth. So, but if you can get a grasp of the elements in relation to the minor arcana cards, I think you're well over halfway there with
Definitely,
understanding.
absolutely, absolutely, definitely. And as you say, definitely the numbers. So
Mm,
if you read the elements together with the numbers, my
exactly.
goodness me, that's really helpful. And I would get again, I recommend the tarot, my tarot book, which is a complete tarot with Julia Sharman Burke. But find a tarot book that will really help you to open up to having a deep understanding of the elements and also of the numbers. And then everything else starts to slip into place during the readings when you understand that those two essential elements.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people do is, you know, I've got them all in order here. What a lot of people do is they'll tend to think, "Oh, got to remember what that means. What does
Yes.
that mean? What
Yeah.
what what are the visual representations
Yeah.
going on here?" But I don't know what I picked there for. So we know numerically, 4 is stability,
Yeah.
and it's also cups.
And
So
it's
this,
being offered, somebody's been offered something.
yes, somebody's been offered something because they're reaching out with some kind of emotion. So this is all around emotions and stability. But all you really need to know is the 4 of cups. The 4 is
Yeah.
stability, and the cups are all to do with emotions and intuition and
Intuition, getting
yeah,
visions, sitting
exactly.
underneath the tree, meditating, having a message or a vision. Absolutely. I mean, we're going to go into the numbers in detail next time.
Yes, we're going to go through each one and talk
Yeah.
about the numbers, and then following on from that, we'll look at the literal picture interpretations also. And it's difficult with intuition because it's not something we can sit and talk about it, but it's something that is innate. It's something
Yeah.
that's in all of us, and it's to do with trust. And you know, it, I think,
Visceral for me. My
yeah.
my intuition kicks in, my body responds, so I can get sort of the goose pimples going on. I can get a shiver down my spine. I can feel like, whoa,
Mm,
something's definitely on target here. And the person that you're reading will often feel the same.
yes.
So there will be a kind of that there is a symbiosis that goes on. And I always say to people when I'm doing readings, look, if anything, if I'm saying things that don't resonate, then just say this doesn't work for me, because
Yeah.
there's lots of different levels of potential that a card can carry.
Yeah. And I think that for those of people that want to learn the tarot, there's nothing better than doing your own readings, than sitting with the cards. And it's like anything, the more you get comfortable, the more you use something, the more it becomes second nature. I think, and this is true of me, so I'm not standing on any high ground of any description here. The minute my ego and my head kicks in when I'm reading cards. And the minute I think, oh, I ought to look at a book, am I reading this right? It takes me down a rocky road of no, trust your intuition, just look at it. How does it make you feel? For me, it's in my stomach, it's a gut thing with
Yes,
me.
definitely.
And like you say, it's visceral with people. It can, you just know. Sometimes you just know, and then what happens is that little voice in your head goes, but do you really know?
Yeah.
You know, ignore it, push it away.
Just a way,
That's
give it a go.
yes, that's your ego going.
Yeah.
Intuition, I'm better than you, intuition, but it's not.
I think the one way of starting to learn the tarot is pull a card a day or a card a week or a card every couple of days. And as Carol is doing, is starting to is writing it down in a journal, so that you start to build a picture and you begin to familiarize with yourself with the cards. And if you keep pulling the same card, I've had that card, I've had pulled a same card maybe 2 or 3 times in a row and just go, this is weird. Take notice.
Yeah, and I tell you, you can do an elemental reading if you want to.
Yes.
I mean, I mean, I don't normally divide all the pack, but just in case we needed examples. But you can get all your suits, and then you can place the card down, just 4 cards. And you decide which card you want to represent, but number 1 can represent fire, number 2 cups, and so
Yeah.
on. Just know which the position is. Shuffle within your element, put it down in the position, and then if you're asking yourself what kind of balance, what messages are coming this week, you can use that elemental reading to go, oh, I've pulled the 3 of cups, I've pulled the 5 of wands, and you can build up a picture of balance that it's telling you for that reading just on the elements. And then you start to get used to reading the elements first.
Yes. Yes.
Connect with the elements first, and
Mm,
then connect
yeah.
with the numbers, the
Number.
imagery, the context. But you
Yeah.
connect with the elements first, and as I say, I think you're halfway there.
Right. Well, I just think that's absolutely says it how it is. Isn't is there anything else that you want to say or mention?
Well, I think what we'll keep doing is coming back and we will give some context, and we'll also do some readings, but we'll wait till we've given everybody the full picture, and
Yes.
then we'll perhaps give it some context and
Yeah.
do some pretend readings, if you like,
Absolutely.
and show how it works in reality and in life. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because as it is, this is like an everyday journey, an elemental journey. So
Yeah. Okie dokie. So next time we're going to be looking in detail at the numbers of the minor arcana.
we will.
So we'll be doing that. And then the time after that, we're going to be looking at the court cards. So
We
that
are.
will be really interesting because I always need to learn more about them. And then the fourth talk we're going to be doing is integrating the minor arcana with the major arcana. So it's about doing a reading.
Yeah,
So
the whole
the whole
everything.
thing, yeah,
Yeah.
putting everything together and just seeing how that works out. So for now,
Mhm.
thank you again for asking for this. I hope it's given you what you need. We're so enthusiastic about the tarot, as you can tell.
If anybody wants to put any questions below, we
Just
can
do.
we can address them. We can address them in the next talk.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to pick those up, because yeah, hopefully it raises some questions, gets you thinking about stuff. So we're here to help.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and like. That really
Yes,
helps to,
yes,
to, to put this into the world.
absolutely.
Okay, so bye for now. See you next time.